Pokemon Horizons episode 6 released yesterday, and I'm here to give my recap and review. Okay, so let's not waste any time. Let's get into it. The episode is titled The Ancient Pokéball. And the summary is when the explorers disembark on the island and confront the rising Volt Tacklers wanting Liko independent. The then Sprigatito and FUECOCO team up and put up a good fight as Liko and Roy take them on together, but Amethio and Corvia Knight catch them off guard and close in on them. Just then, Liko's pendant starts shining again and something strange happens with the ancient monster ball, the ancient Pokeball that Roy has. So, this episode, I actually really liked this episode. This is definitely my favorite episode of the ones we've gotten so far. I loved it. Loved this episode. So let me attempt to recap the episode. Basically, the beginning, it starts off as this episode. It starts off as a summary. Basically, the beginning of the episode is basically the summary. What comes out of Roy's Pokeball, what comes out of his Pokeball is shiny RAYQUAZA, black RAYQUAZA. I was not expecting that. That actually caught me off guard. I thought something would probably be in it, but I didn't think it would be a Rayquaza. I thought Rayquaza would be something like, Ho-Ho was with Ash. Like, as their journey starts, it appears over the sky as, a special Pokemon, and they see it as their journey continues. You see it throughout their journey. I thought that was going to be that. But it's actually tied to Roy's possessions, actually tied, to Roy's special item. It was actually inside it. The Rayquaza was actually, it was technically his, right? So it actually has direct ties to Roy, so I was not expecting that. So I really like that. I'm sorry about that cough. But very surprised. I didn't expect that. And basically when Rayquaza comes out, the explorers end up retreating. They end up getting out of there. Everybody's basically stunned. Everybody's basically freaked out, surprised, scared. Roy attempts to call it back to the Pokeball, but it ends up flying off instead. So, of course they are, everybody's stunned. But Roy ends up going for FUECOCO. He runs up to him and stuff. Before all that happens, they actually go to Roy's grandfather and to ask more information about the Pokeball. Since he gave it to Roy, right? But he ends up knowing, he doesn't know anything about it. He just knows that he just found it one day on the sand, and because Roy wanted it, he gave it to him. That's all he knows about it. That's all he knows about it, right? So basically the rest of the episode is about basically Roy, joining the team, joining the crew. He's about to join, right? At first he catches FUECOCO. Charizard gives FUECOCO a Pokeball, and FUECOCO runs out and gives Roy the Pokeball. I really love this moment. Oh yeah, I forget. So this slipped my mind, right? After he leaves his grandfather, right? He runs up to the ship and yells out to FUECOCO, telling, I want to know how you feel. I want to know how you feel because I want to go on. I want to keep adventuring with you. I want you to be my partner. I want to keep singing with you and all this stuff. He basically, he's letting his feelings out. He wants to know if FUECOCO feels the same way. And it turns out he does because he runs out with the Pokeball. And I really love this moment. I love that whole moment, this whole sequence. I loved it. That was my favorite part of the episode, definitely. That's definitely my favorite part. I actually got emotional watching it. I loved it. I didn't cry, but I did love that moment. Definitely my favorite part of the moment. But then once he catches it, the next step is for him to set out. But he's scared, he doesn't know if his grandfather will let him. He doesn't know if his grandfather will let him go. So he's basically afraid of that. Liko tells him, you'll never know until you try. You'll never know until you ask him. You with Pokemon by your side, you can do anything. So you have to ask him. You don't know, it'll be okay. It'll be okay. Basically, that's what she's saying. With Pokemon by your side. You can do it. So when this happens, also Freed says, you know, if your grandfather says, yes, you could come. You can come on the ship. With this, his grandfather ends up showing up, and Roy lets out his feelings. He said, my dream, I want to catch the Rayquaza. I want to find that Rayquaza. I want to be just like the explorer, the ancient explorer that you know, did all this stuff. I want to do just like that. I want to find the legendary Pokemon and stuff like that. And I want to fulfill FUECOCO's dream FUECOCO's dream of becoming just like Charizard and becoming big and strong, cool like Charizard. I want to fulfill his dream too. And his grandfather, of course, lets him go because he thought of somebody else's dream other than his. He thought of FUECOCO's dream, not just his dreams. He's heard Roy's dreams a million times, but he thought about somebody else's dream. So that's why he lets him go. And sorry about that. But with that, he joins the crew. He formally joins. And so basically the rest of the episode is them setting off. They set off. He meets the rest of the crew. And they set off. They're setting off to Paldea. And of course something else happens with the explorers actually. They he goes back, Methio goes back to their little spot, their place. You know, they're in front of Master Gibeon. Mysterious Master Gibeon, right? And of course he failed the mission, so his Spinel's over there. Spinel's is Amethio's rival, apparently. He's his rival. He's laughing at him. He failed the mission. You never fail a mission, right? So he's just laughing, cackling most of the time. He's on screen, just joking around and stuff. Making fun of him, right? Master Gibeon, this is the big thing. Master Gibeon kicks Amethio off the mission, kicks him off, hands it over to Spinel. This is Spinel's mission now. So I'm actually really interested to see how Spinel handles this. How is he different? How is he going to come different compared to Amethio? What is he going to do to get this pendant? Because Amethio failed and he was already, you know, kind of serious. He was very serious. So I want to see how Spinel's going to do it, right? So Amethio is, of course, not happy about this. He's mad. But it's okay because he's shifting his focus on to Rayquaza. He's going to look for Rayquaza too. He's shifting his focus to that. He's very interested in that now. And with that, that's all we see of him. I think they're going to still be a constant. Amethio will still be a constant in the series. He's not going to leave. But we're going to add on Spinel. He's definitely going to be a constant too. So, like I said, I'm very interested to see how Spinel is, how he comes to them, how he is going to try to get the pendant, what he's going to do. I'm very interested to see that. And with that, they set off to Paldea. Liko, Roy, and the Liko, Roy, and the Volt Tacklers. They set off to Paldea. That's the next stop. I'm sorry if I'm forgetting stuff. I'm probably forgetting a lot of minor details of the episode, but I just finished watching the episode, so this is just my raw thoughts, my raw reaction. So I really do love this episode. This is definitely my favorite out of the 6 we've gotten so far, and I'm been very interested in this series. I'm really compared to every other Pokemon series and how they started, I think this is definitely the best start of any series, writing wise. This is definitely the best start. We're just getting straight to it. And what we know about episodes coming up, it's going to be the same way. You know, we're getting straight to it, and I love that. A lot of Pokemon fans don't want that. They always wanted that too. So I'm very happy about that. I loved this episode. I loved the story. I loved everything about it. Definitely, like I said, my favorite moment is Roy going to FUECOCO, him catching him FUECOCO, him going to the ship and yelling what he wants to do. How do you feel? Do you feel the same way as me? I love that moment. That's definitely the highlight of the episode for me. But you know, I'm very excited for the future of this series. Liko, at the end of the episode, she was interested. She wants to know more about the Explorer, more about her pendant, more about what's her name? Black Rayquaza. Also, another thing I wanted to mention in this episode, Liko noticed that there was a connection between her pendant and the Ancient Pokéball because they glow at the same time. they glow at the same time. So she now notices that. That's something I'm also wondering. I'm very interested to see how they connect, and we didn't find that out in this episode yet. So I'm very interested to see how they what their connection is, because we've seen the Pokemon that came out of Lico's pendant. So I'm very interested to see how they're connected, right? But yeah, that's basically my thoughts of this episode. I loved the episode. I loved it. I loved it. Can't wait to see all the episodes that are coming up. We've seen the content. We know the content of these episodes, and I can't wait to see them. Can't wait to see what happens in them. Can't wait to see what's coming up in the series. I love it so far. I'm loving it. I hope they don't drop the ball. I hope they keep this momentum going, and it looks like they will. So that's all for me for this review. The next review should be the latest One Piece chapter. I need to go ahead and start reading that. This video should be up. That video should be up on Sunday or Saturday. Probably be Sunday. So that's my next video. So that's all for me today. Catch me on the One Piece review. And of course, if any news comes out if any news comes out in the week, of course, I'll report that. So that's all for me. See you on the next one.